The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich. Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. I'm a polio survivor. Hi, Addie.
Hi. And I have CP. Only half my body got the memo to show up most days, and that's okay.
But they both did show up.
It did show up.
Yeah,
it's here. It's not always online, but it is present.
Very good. So how was your week? Anything good, exciting, fun, stupid happen?
So this weekend we went to this thing called, I think it's called the Southern Safari. I'm sorry people if I'm wrong, but it's in Pine Lake, Georgia. It's really cool. It's this huge sanctuary, and they have tons of animals. And they have these old buses, and they've taken the windows out and taken the door up, and like they basically can drive you around for like an hour, and you can buy feed that they've made to feed the animals, and it is freaking amazing. So we went, we fed a giraffe, we saw water buffalo, many things.
How did they come to them?
I don't know. I didn't really get the backside of the story, but it's been around since like 1996, I believe. And the cool thing is that some things that are technically extinct in the wild, they are like rehabitating, because it's basically like giant acreage where they let them forage and roam and do the things they do. All these kind of like game animals. And so there's boys and girls, and they're recreating things.
So it's more like a natural what's the word?
It's like a coordinated habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a giant lake that's like as big as like Stone Mountain Lake. That's a water source for them. They obviously have water sources throughout the area, but I mean, there were pot-bellied pigs. There are, different kinds of deer. These really cool white things. I'm gonna have to like
some white things. What?
These cool white things that look like they should be Santa Claus's reindeer or something.
So some indigenous animals and some more global.
Yeah, pot-bellied pigs did not necessarily from Africa.
And giraffes.
But they have like ostriches and emus. They had llamas. They had all kinds of stuff. They have one giraffe, and he is so smart. He's 3 years old, but he's been there quite a while, that he knows when he hears the chug of the bus, he's about to get fed. And we sat right behind the driver, so as soon as we kind of pulled up to the enclosure, he stuck his head in.
Nice.
He's 14 foot tall.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hi guys, who's gonna feed me?" So it was really a fun time.
I know you got goodies in there.
I know. He's like, "I can already smell it. I heard the chug of the bus."
That's good.
Super cool. How about you?
And when you say we, you and Tito?
Me and Tito. Yeah, that would be the we.
Mr.
The royal
Rich.
We.
Mr. Rich. Yeah.
Something like that. he got the same treatment you did in our bonus episode. He was surrounded by riches for 2.5 weeks. He survived.
And he survived. I'm kind of looking forward. The next couple of weeks are very, very busy for me, and it didn't start off good because yesterday my ramp on my van started malfunctioning, so I missed a doctor's appointment, taking that over to get it sorted out, which was very quick and painless, so that was good. And the doctor's appointment isn't really anything urgent, so it all works out. I can get back to, doing all the things I got to do. But
right.
This past weekend, I told you I was going to a car show, so went to that, and it was great. It was a Big Bear, California, which is, there's a little area called the Village, in an otherwise fairly populated area. So they close all that off and they have all the cars there. So yeah, went and saw the cars and rented some friends and did all that. But then at the end of it, the final thing they do is around 3:30 in the afternoon, they cruise around the lake. Everybody.
Aww.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thinking it's just kind of us. We go cruising around the lake and have a fun time. But I didn't realize that as you go around the lake, everybody around the lake comes out with their lawn chairs and sits there and watches go by and cheers, thumbs up, and all the way around the lake. Yeah, it was awesome. And there was even, if you're familiar with drag racing, there's the box they come into before they do the race, and they'll spray water down there so they can burn out, warm up their tires. So there's some guy along the road who's got his hose out there and he's wetting a spot in the road so people
can burn out.
do their burnouts, which they had explicitly said before we left, no burnouts.
Right? The guy's like, do it. You're not going to get in trouble by my house.
Exactly.
Do it.
The guys in the neighborhood said, we don't adhere to that rule. So that was awesome. And then
That's so fun.
what else did we do? And then after that, it was a big day. And then after that, we went over to my friend Butch's house, and him and his wife Maureen. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and they put on a whole thing with the taco guy comes.
I know. I was like, weren't you eating? Like, if
all
there's food,
day.
I remember it.
All day. Oh yeah. So
Nice.
so we're walking along at some point, and somebody's having an ice cream cone, and oh man, that looks good. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And like 2 minutes later, Phil, my buddy, he says, "You want to get an ice cream?" Sure. He said, "Wow, really had to twist your arm there." Yeah. So
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
You're like,
that.
hey, the kid in me was thinking about it from 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
So eating
I
all
have the
day.
same problem. So Asher, my nephew, loves drumsticks. Well, I think we inherited it from my dad because
Yeah.
I remember having them as kids. Well, some got left behind when they left. So you know that my 9 o'clock sweet tooth is like, there's a drumstick in there.
I know. I can sense it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go eat it.
I suddenly remember, and then I got to go eat it because it's there.
Very nice. Well, good. So today we're going to talk and continue our invisible disabilities highlight each week here on Walk and Roll Live, and this week sickle cell anemia, which I know I told you before we started that I've heard of it for years but didn't know exactly what it was. So this is nice. It's kind of twofold. I can get educated about it, and then we can hear about how it affects someone's life, first of all.
Yeah.
And then second of all, on top of that, then they have to deal with people that they can't see it. So I guess it's like air, people, well, not maybe that's not a good example, but there's so many things that you don't see, so you don't believe it. UFOs, how about that?
There you go.
I never saw a
air.
UFO, so
Yeah.
I can't say if it's there or not. Well, this is really there.
I'm not sure if I believe you. Yeah.
So we have Therese on to tell us all about it. So we'll do that here in the Shake of a Lamb's Tail. Did people say that anymore? Or am I old?
No, they do. I love that one.
Okay, good. So we're going to hear from Agyar Professional Training, and we'll be right back.
At Agyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Agyar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Agyar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business. From the Agyar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Here tonight, hearts and wheels, we shine bright. Rolling through this life, every step a brand new vibe. Voices loud and clear, stories shared without a fear. Life's a song we steer, with each turn we cheer and steer. Walk and roll love, feel the beat inside. Together we thrive, in this dance of life.
Welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. Let's start with our usual introduction of our guests. We are continuing our interviews with folks who have invisible disabilities. And this is also a topic I just wanted to have on anyway, because, if you listen to the show, we kind of center a lot on spinal cord injuries, people that are wheelchair users. And that's just mostly because that's, the group, because I'm in a wheelchair, I kind of hang out with a lot and meet and network with and all that. So anytime I can get somebody outside of that world, it's nice to be able to educate our listeners. So Therese is here. Why don't you just kind of give everybody a brief introduction before we we get in your name and where you're from and your disability.
Therese, aka T, like T. I am 37 years old. I work in special education, and I am from Hesperia, California.
Amazing.
Very nice. And you have sickle cell anemia.
Yes.
Right. So we're going to be talking about that today. And I briefly talked with Therese yesterday, and I admitted that I've heard about it my whole life, and I know it's and this is one of the questions I wanted to ask. It's I don't know if common is the right word, but it seems like it's more centered in the African American community. Is it exclusive, or there's just seems to be more of it there?
It's not just exclusive to us, but here in the United States, you see a lot more people of African American descent with sickle cell. However, there's Pacific Islanders, there's Asians, there are people who are mixed, Honduras, like a lot of those different types of places, you also see sickle cell. So like some of the first people who were cured from sickle cell are Hispanic here in California.
Interesting. Okay. That's amazing.
Did you say cured?
Yes.
Oh, so there is a cure.
Amazing.
There is a cure. I personally am a believer of that cure for younger generation, because your body can take a lot more. So bone marrow transplant isn't the easiest thing for most people to go through, but when you're a kid, it is a little bit easier. And if you can do that and you can endure it, that is a full cure for sickle cell.
Gotcha.
Amazing.
Gotcha. So
that's amazing.
Let's maybe just back up just a little bit and just kind of give a background on where you're from, where you grew up, and what were some of your interests growing up.
I grew up in Reno Valley, California. I love music. I love to dance. I love working with kids. I have a son who is 6 years old. What don't I like to do other than drive? I actually don't like driving. I don't like adulting, but
I'm of that same club.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing a lot of different things. Like I'm pretty well versed in quite a few things. I love going to the beach. It's a very serene place for me. I love amusement parks, Six Flags in particular. I love roller coasters. I like to travel. I like to do everything that everybody likes to do.
And were you always a mover and a shaker as a kid then as well? I mean, you sound spirited, or were you not a spirited little younger?
Well, when I was young, I've always had like the go-getter in me. Mm-hmm. As we get into my story, you'll see that. So yes, I've always had that. And my parents never stopped me from doing anything that I wanted to do. So, but I was a lot more timid and a lot more, I'm not sure about that. And then as I got older and not ever wanting to be left out, like I just started doing different things again. And I was like, oh, I actually enjoyed that, or that's fun. So, even like with having sickle cell, working is one of those things that a lot of people with sickle cell don't have the ability to do because of what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So working to me is like a big part of my life. Like, it's very important that I'm able to do that. Yeah, and that I actually enjoy it because it's a lot of work to go to work.
Right. No, totally understand it.
Definitely, we'll get into that. Therese came to us because I know her mother. She works at Rolling Start, where I volunteer, and also your brother, right, works there as well. So, what do you think about your family and your upbringing? Kind of produced all these people that want to serve and give back.
I'm not sure what produced that because my mom has always been in like social services and stuff, but I didn't foresee myself working with people with disabilities or anything like that when I was a kid. I wanted to teach, but I didn't see myself working with individuals with different disabilities. I definitely didn't see that with my brother, because my brother, he's the biggest one that's like, Therese, you can do anything anybody else can do. So I don't know what to tell you. So my brother gives no sympathy at all. And so now for him to be like the assistive tech director, like it's amazing to see how he's grown there and now how much he understands about different disabilities. And my family, we're a very tight-knit family, but they're a really big part of my support system. My sister also works in special education, and then my sister-in-law, she does ABA and things of that nature. So we are all in the field.
It runs in your essence, in your spirit.
Yeah.
In our spirit, somehow we just got connected, and yeah, we all love it and been doing it for quite a while now.
I'm sure seeing that example growing up, kind of helped a little bit, nudge it that way.
I still didn't think that I was going to ever work with people with disabilities, because I fought so hard to don't label me with a disability. I just wanted to be normal. So I didn't see that for myself, but I've always been into community service and volunteering at different nonprofits and things like that. And education just kind of fit my personality. And then as I just, moved around to find my niche, I was like, oh, this is it.
You're like, haha, it was just hiding. It was waiting over here.
Right. And so
I think Addie and I both can relate.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think growing up, I'm similar to you. I have cerebral palsy. But I was always like, no, I just want to be like everybody else. Don't watch me walk and just let me be. And so even into adulthood, until honestly, real reconnecting with Doug and being like, okay, this is my community and I'm going to, learn more about it and thrive amongst people. I think I still was always like, yeah, but I'm that's not all of me. It's this big part of,
Right. That part. I'm always like, that's just a really small part of me. Even though it's actually a huge part of who we are, because it shapes us into everything that we become. But even with my students, I'm always telling them, be an advocate. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you're different, whatever your difference is. That's people always say, why do you just tell people you have sickle cell? You don't want to keep that to yourself. And I feel like now, I used to, but now I don't do that as much, because I want there to be more awareness about it. I want people to hear about it and to see people who live and thrive with different disabilities, regardless of what we look like.
Exactly. Right.
And kind of
Sometimes
change.
You got to be the loud horn to get everybody.
And that's me. Everybody is like, we know Therese is cheerleader of the world for sickle cell, got the shirts and all of that stuff. And I'm like, do you need some information? Because I'll get it to you.
Yeah, right. You're like, well, eat that. Who cares?
And every time you introduce yourself with it, that it creates an opportunity to share and educate, right?
Right. It gives me a big opportunity to educate, but it also gives me an opportunity as a believer to tell people about God, because I believe he is a big part for me as to why I am who I am. And I do consider myself to be a walking miracle.
Yeah.
So we did chat a little bit yesterday. And at some point I'm like, okay, we don't want to go too far, because, I don't want to ask all the questions today that I want to ask in our interview. So, and that was one of the things. And I imagine there's a lot of people like me that they've heard of it, but if it hasn't touched their lives and they haven't dove into it too much to find out what it's about. And I didn't know. And it was so many disabilities that we talk about here on Walk and Roll Live. I never know, is it a disease? Is it a condition? Is it, I don't know how to exactly label it. And I would say maybe a disorder with sickle cell anemia.
A lot of people call it a disorder.
Yeah.
But there's no actual title that goes with it, because it's just sickle cell anemia. Yeah. Some people do say it's a disease. Some people say it's a disorder. Some people just leave it as that, it's a form of anemia, but it's a lot more than just anemia.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't care how you label it. I could just tell you the functions of it, how it works, what happens, what doesn't happen, how to prevent certain things, and the other things that you can't control. That for me is not the biggest thing to be concerned with.
Yeah. Well,
so can you tell us a little bit about what it is? So for people that are listening, we can understand.
And if we can, real quick, because I want to definitely go down that part of it, but just how do you contract it for people? Is it hereditary? Is it a virus?
It's primarily hereditary, I believe. My mom has a trait and my dad has a trait. However, if both of your parents have a trait, it does not mean that your kid is going to have sickle cell. I am not good with biology, but if you understand all of the cells and how that works, like, there's like the 50%, the 75%, it's more of like a 75% chance that you will end up with a kid that has sickle cell. So that is how I got sickle cell. Both of my parents do have the trait. Both of them have different types of the trait. My dad has sickle cell beta thalassemia trait, and my mom has sickle cell SS. SS would be the most difficult form to live with, and beta thalassemia is the mildest form to deal with.
Gotcha.
And what
I
does
saw
that,
somewhere.
how does that more, like, how does it show in your life, basically? Like,
So how it presents itself is basically anybody with sickle cell, no matter what type of sickle cell you have, your red blood cells, they come out as they're produced whole, like regular cells, and then your cells are meant to do this, like, so that's how they fit through your veins to give oxygen and things. After about probably less than a week, they break down, if even that, into like a crescent shape or a sickle, which looks like the moon in the sky, and they have these little pointy edges on the ends of them. And so instead of it doing more like this, it does something like this. And so when they're trying to go through your veins, it's like pinching your veins and your capillaries and things of that nature. And so that causes a lot of pain. It causes inflammation. It causes what is the word that I'm looking for? Different like, it makes it easier for you to get more viruses and things like that. So you're more prone to getting sick very easily because your body just does not have the same amount as everybody else. So our hemoglobin level or our blood level for somebody my age, it should be somewhere between like 11 and 13. I live at a 7. So my blood level, where most people, like, if you get into a car accident or something and you lose a lot of blood, if they're at like a 9 or a 10, they're going to rush them to getting a blood transfusion. I live at like a 7. And so obviously I don't have the same amount of energy and things like that as others because I don't have this much oxygen, so I don't produce as much blood. And so whenever my blood does drop, like, because I have so many cells breaking down, that is what we would call a crisis, where your cells just start breaking down in a whole lot of different areas of your body, primarily in the areas of your joints. So like where your wrists are, your elbow, your shoulders, your knees, your ankles, those areas. A lot of times people have issues with their back, their hips, their feet. They have issues with their spleen, with their liver. They're much more prone to getting to having a stroke, to needing to get hip replacements, knee replacements, and things of that nature. Now the life expectancy for a female is like close to 60, and for a male, it's like maybe 50, 55.
basically, it's always like a car accident in your veins.
Always.
Yeah.
Traffic jam. That's
Yeah.
exactly how we describe it. So whenever you're in crisis, you have like 50,000 different traffic jams going on all over your body, because generally once you have pain in one area, it's going to travel to somewhere else because it just starts sending off, like the different alarms or whatever to your body, and then everywhere is doing the same thing. So chronic pain is everyday life. Like, I don't know any sickle cell warriors that don't have pain on an everyday basis.
So it
may not be as severe as others. Like, some cannot, it's just debilitating. Others, like, for me, like if I've had a really long day, I'm tired and stuff like that, that's going to make me have pain. But I may not just be in pain when I wake up, or I might be in pain when I wake up and I may not feel no more pain for the rest of the day. It's just the thing that makes it hard is you never know when that pain is going to come or how much pain you're going to have.
So it's not really a good day, bad day. It's just better or worse day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. And you just learn how to manage.
Is there anything you can do to improve it?
drinking a lot of water helps a lot to keep your blood cells moving. Taking vitamins like chlorophyll and things like that, that helps to like plump your cells. We tend to get like a lot of blood transfusions and things like that. So learning how to like do that and not have iron overload, which is like a common thing for a lot of people with sickle cell like myself. I have iron overload and recently learned that turmeric and green tea like help cancel out having too much iron. Of course, it takes time. There's medicine, things like that. But I would say, vitamins, water, make sure you get your rest, no stress, like, which is almost impossible. So
Right.
it's like making sure you have like a really good support system that you can like lean on and say, hey, I need you to help me with this today. So a lot of people with sickle cell do not have kids. And then there are those that do have kids. And when, like for me, I only have one. And so there's days where I'm like, hey, can Isaiah come over for a few hours? Like, because I just need to get some rest. Just having those people who can be there for you. Like they're not going to always ask you 12,000 questions. They're just going to be there because you don't always have the energy to answer all the questions and the stuff. It just needs what you need.
So in the disability community, a lot of conversations about accommodations in the workplace and that kind of thing. How has work been?
Well, I work at Victor High School in the wonderful city of Victorville, the oldest high school in the high desert, I believe it is. This year is 110 years. Our school is 3 stories. So last year I was doing RSP, which is, we know that is a level of special education. And so a lot of our RSP aides, you go to different classes with your students. And so that was like extremely hard for me because we have literally 3 to 4 flights of stairs, like they're very steep. And, I just had a conversation with my supervisor. At first I didn't really want to tell her, and I just had to say, hey, this is a lot, and, I'm grateful that I have an amazing supervisor that is very supportive. And, she was just like, well, what's going on? And I was like, hey, you remember in my interview when I was like, I just relate very well to these students because, everybody has some form of a disability. Well, and so
You're like, ta-da!
Yeah. And she was like, but you look perfectly fine. And you look so young and you're so fit. And I'm like, yeah, but on the inside, like it's a lot. So then when I get home and I'm like in pain and I'm tired, the next day, waking up at 7 o'clock is not going to happen because my body can't handle it. And so she was very understanding and said, of course, we can find you an SDC class, which is also another type of special education. In those classrooms, you are able to stay in one classroom a day. You do move around campus and stuff like that, but it's not as strenuous. So with work, for those that can work, it's about finding what you can do. Because there's some people who play sports and, exercise and do all of that, and they're perfectly fine. And then there's others like me that the minute I get in the pool, I can have fun for, good 20 to 30 minutes. And then after that, it's going to be a problem, like a real problem. So it's just a matter of picking and choosing what you're going to deal with. That you're going to have to deal with something and what you choose to deal with. Because of course I'm still tired most days after work, where other people probably can still run errands and stuff. I'm like, I need a nap.
You're like, I'm done here.
Right. I'm like, I need a nap. And then I'm going to go get my baby from childcare. I just need a power nap or something. And so it's just, you just got to choose what's worth it and what's not worth it. And for some people, their pain is so debilitating, it's not worth it to try to work. And there's, a lot of physical demands or whatever, because it's not like I just sit in the chair all day. I'm up doing everything regardless of how I feel on the inside. Because as you guys know, most people with disabilities, we put the smile on and the strong face for everybody when we don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So you were very fortunate to have somebody that, that you work with that's very accommodating, but it is the law. That's what ADA is. We just celebrated 35 years. So that's something that within reason. I mean, you couldn't go ask them to put 3-story elevators in the place. They probably wouldn't be able to do
They
that.
definitely should, though, because we have a
Yes.
lot of older people that work there.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But no, I wouldn't be the one to ask for that. But our district is very accommodating to.
Good.
There's a plethora of disabilities, and my coworkers, they all just range from all kinds of different things to people who have, really bad headaches, to people who I have coworkers with cerebral palsy and things of that nature, and they work with us very well, like very, very well.
So maybe share with
Shout
us
out
some
to
ways
Sickle.
that it's negatively impacted your life, and not for, not as a complaint, but because, that's the other thing. We don't complain a whole lot, but it kind of gives our audience an idea of, what we deal with on a day-to-day basis, and do put that smile on our face that nobody knows. So, you don't get very many opportunities, or you don't want to, be the complainer and the whiner. You want to fit in, so that's what you do. You kind of hide. But this is a good opportunity to let people know what we go through sometimes.
Right. I think the hardest part is the worst days, like the days where I get up and I'm like, I feel pain everywhere and I just have to keep pushing. Those days are really hard. Or like when I have to miss work, that bothers me a lot, because like I like to be there for my students. I want to be there to support them and things like that. But then it's like when I have to miss work. So this last school year, I experienced having to get transfusions literally like every month. And so it's like, then there's a day for the transfusion and then there's a day to rest. And then generally, because I need a transfusion, there was probably a few days before that it was just like, it's too much. Like I have to stay home. And missing work and missing a lot, like, it made me feel, air quote, I'm not normal. Like everybody else doesn't miss this amount of work. Like, nobody else is getting docked in their pay. Like nobody else is having to send in doctor's notes, like basically weekly. And those things were really hard for me. And that was a big challenge for me this year, a challenge that I've never really faced, because like I went to school and did all of that stuff. And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, by the way, we don't know why your blood won't stay up and it just keeps dropping. So this is what you have to do. And it's like either do that or end up in the hospital for a good 7 days. And then there's the time to recoup from being in the hospital. And that's also being away from my son. And, then when my son can see, like, Mommy, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Like, how are you feeling? And my son is only 6. So when your son starts asking you questions, those things are really hard. And like recently I experienced going to amusement parks, and now I choose to ride in a lecture cart. And then I think my mom was telling you kind of how people just automatically prejudge me a lot, because I don't look my age. I don't look like I have a disability. Everything looks perfectly fine.
You look fine, right?
But it's not fine.
Yeah,
Like,
we just talked about this. We were talking about the
there's
airport
always
judgers.
something, like, and so choosing to ride in the motor cart versus walking, it really messed with me mentally, because I'm like, I'm used to walking, but I know that if I walk around this whole entire amusement park, when I get home, there's going to be not just one day, probably 2 or 3 days that I'm not going to be able to do anything. Like, like I'm going to be in bed and maybe I can walk back and forth to the bathroom, to the living room or something, but I'm not going to be good for anything. So I want to enjoy this time with my family, but I also don't want to have any issues. So I'm going to ride in the motor cart. Or like I have to go grocery shopping after work and I'm really tired, and I know being tired is going to cause me pain in my legs. So let me get in the motor cart to like kind of help me get through my day. And there's the person who's looking at me like, why are you parked in handicap? Why do you have the last scooter? You should just give it to me because I'm elderly or because I have a walker, or look at me and I don't look like that. And people get really upset. Like, they say mean things, like, they prejudge you with their facial expressions, and you can see it. And it's like, those things are so hard to deal with, because it's like, honestly, most people, if they knew what I was really dealing with, you could not handle all that I dealt with. Yet here you are judging me. Here you are staring at me. Here you are trying to guilt me for something that I'm not guilty of. Like, I am entitled to the services just like anybody else. I just happen to look different or look okay. But my looks mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, August being Invisible Disabilities Month. That's why we, twofold wanted to have you on to talk about sickle cell anemia, which we hadn't had a chance to talk about yet. And it's one of those invisible disabilities that you do get judged like that. And, you're at a store, in the middle of the store, and somebody gives you the side eye, you can't, you don't have time, or it's just not the place for a conversation like that. And it may not go well anyway. Yeah. So
it usually doesn't. And it's more than a side eye. Like, like I've had people literally say, like, why are you in that chair? I need it more than you do. Like, and I just have to humble myself and say, ma'am, I am in the chair because I need the chair, or sir, and they get upset, and, it's all kinds of different things, like, that happen. And, like, my husband gets so frustrated with it. Like, certain stores don't have, like, enough of those type of carts or whatever, and you just have to wait. And, like, Costco, they're really great about having a list of whoever is next and things like that. Everywhere it's not like that. So I've had people literally just jump in front of me and, like, just take the cart because they're looking at me like, you don't need it.
Like, I have judged. I have turned myself into God and judged you. Do not get a cart.
Exactly. Like, it is like, okay. Like, I try really hard not to get upset about those things. But, like, when you're feeling really bad, though, like you're already physically feeling bad, those are the days that you're mentally struggling too. And then when people come with the extra stuff, it's like, okay, I'm going to go home and cry about this later, but right now I'll act like everything is okay.
Well, and I'm sure there's a lead up to it. Before you ever leave the house, if you're going to go to the grocery store and use the cart, that you have, you're already getting mentally prepared for what you're going to have to deal with it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely the pre-anxiety. And, like, so I've become so, like, weird about it. I'm telling my husband, like, okay, we need to go to this Walmart because this Walmart has more carts than the other Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh, like, man.
Even we went to do my son's school shopping, and I just got a port place because a lot of people with sickle cell, they don't have very good veins. So you hear a lot about portacasts with people with cancer. A lot of people don't understand that people like myself a lot of times have those and have had them since they were very young. And so for me, this is my first time getting it. And, I was feeling pretty okay, but I was walking through the mall completely terrified, like, please don't let anybody bump into me, because if they bump into me, I'm going to fall apart, like, because it's going to hurt a lot. They're not going to know. I'm going to look crazy. Like, and I didn't really, like, do all the math to figure that out. Like, before we got there, it was just like we got there and it was crowded. And I was like, what if this happens? Like, and I can't, like, you can't always, like, protect, like, every little thing, like, and you just have to just be, like, and then that's another one of those times where I just put on the face like everything is fine, even though on the inside, like, I'm clutched to my husband, but on the inside I am, like, terrified, like, I don't know what's gonna happen, like, what if I just run out of energy? I was perfectly fine right now, but because of how I'm feeling with the anxiety and stuff, that triggers things to happen in my body.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've definitely
anxiety
can relate.
Like, turns everything on. Zero, 0 to 60, and now you can't find the Zen place because you're like, that man is gonna bump into me right now. I know. Right. I always,
and I'm like doing all of this, and my husband's like, it's gonna be okay, and I'm like, it's not okay. I am not okay.
It's like me in a liquor store, because of my balance issues. Like, I always will send my husband in, or my sister or somebody, because I have this terror in my mind that somehow my right side, which doesn't get the memo all the time, will hit, like, one whole aisle of liquor bottles and I won't be able to afford
Domino
it. Like,
effect.
Yeah, and that's like,
Done that a
held
few
that panic
times.
for years.
Like I've done that a few times with the cart. And I'm like, I'm trying my hardest to move it gently, and then it's like I push the button just a tad bit, and then it bumps into something. I'm like, oh my god, like
I do not want 60 boxes of cereal because
like I don't, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make a mess. Like I'm so sorry. Like yeah, it gets real sometimes.
Yeah.
It gets real.
I
Right.
transitioned from walking on crutches to a wheelchair, and that's one of the things that finally kind of pushed me into the wheelchair full time, because I was so afraid of getting out of my car and getting my wheelchair out that if I fell, I couldn't get up myself. Is there going to be somebody around that can do it, or even be able to lift me up? Somebody that was strong enough, and it just became that anxiety. So finally, I said, "All right, it's time." So got a van,
Yeah.
and now much easier. I don't have all that anxiety.
That was kind of how I felt with the port. Like I said, I'm tired of going and getting poked 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And once again, getting judged. I have a scar on my arm that looks like I shoot up because I don't have a lot of veins. Like, so I have one really good one. And when people look at me in the grocery store, especially like if I'm not feeling good or if I've been in the hospital or something, people look at me like, oh, you just a drug user. And it's like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, like I got poked 8 times because they couldn't find my vein. Like, like it wasn't really me, but they just look like, when you look at my arm, sometimes it's like, you have a problem. Like, it does look that way. I don't joke about it, but it's like when you're really dealing with it, it's like, could you just show a little bit more grace? Like, could you keep your facial expression to yourself?
For sure.
Yeah. So I neglected to ask, but so how is it diagnosed?
Sickle cell is diagnosed by a blood test. So they do a test called an electrophoresis, which is where they look at the different types of hemoglobin you have and the levels of which they are. So as I was saying earlier, like there's hemoglobin beta thalassemia, there's hemoglobin SS, there's SC, there's SA, and I might be missing one. And so based off of those numbers, that's how they tell if you have sickle cell and which type of sickle cell you have. So generally, you don't have any, like, you're very, very, very low numbers, if any, of like fetal hemoglobin, you are most likely going to fall into one of those categories. And if that, I'm not exactly sure of like what the number is, but like if the number will say is like over 50 or something like that in one area, and then like maybe it's 75 in another, like, they may say, okay, you have you have hemoglobin S and you have hemoglobin C, so you have sickle cell beta or sickle cell SC or whatever, and that's the type of sickle cell you have, but it's done through an electrophoresis test.
Do you typically go into a crisis first and then they run that test, or it's
now they do test all babies for sickle cell, but initially, like when I was born, yes, the first crisis that most children have is called like hand-foot syndrome, hand-foot crisis, or something of that nature. And basically your hands and your feet swell up and they're really red and hot, and baby is very cryy, fussy and stuff. And that's basically what happened with me. And my mom was like, something's going on with my baby. And at first they were like, there's no way she has sickle cell. And then my mom was like, you guys need to figure out everything, test for everything. And so they did, and comes to find out that I have sickle cell. And at that time, even now, there's not a lot of doctors that specialize in sickle cell. In the books, there's not a lot of information about sickle cell. It's maybe a few pages, if even that. So there's a lot of things that they didn't know. So becoming my own advocate and like reading like crazy is what helped me to get through life.
So this falls in the category of something you're born with.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of when you discover it, if you have it. Yeah.
And so some people, like, their crisis may not last that long. So like it may flare up at night and the baby may be okay and it may go away. And the mom doesn't know until they have a full blown crisis, or something is going on with their spleen and now their stomach is distended, like, things like that. So it just varies for each person. But me, I was diagnosed at 3 months.
Yeah. And now they're doing that more often. Would they do a blood test early?
They
like
do a
routine?
blood test. Yes,
Yeah.
like along with all of the list of things that they test for, when your baby is first born, sickle cell is now one of those because it is pretty common in America. But even though it is more common with African Americans, they're now testing everybody because the blood is so mixed now. There's so many interracial people amongst us. So you at least want to know if you have a trait or things like that to help you prepare. I mean, I say prepare because like my son has a trait. I would teach my son, like, just like you would ask any girl about any other STD or something, that is something that you would say, hey, were you ever tested for sickle cell? Do you have a trait? Because I don't want my son to have a baby where he ends up with a grandkid or his own kid that has sickle cell, because it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah. So I know you're an advocate. How are you doing that these days to try to educate people about it? Are there research programs that are going on to help with this?
There's always different types of research going on, but I think that sickle cell warriors are the biggest advocates of what is really going on. Kaiser has a really great program for sickle cell. And like the East Coast, they're even better with sickle cell because they have a lot more sickle cell patients. Loma Linda, they are one of the hospitals that cured somebody from sickle cell. Like they have a really dope program there. I personally,
real quick, I'm sorry, they have a monthly support group at Loma Linda as well. Yeah.
And they have one at Kaiser, but Kaiser is in LA. And there's like hundreds of support groups like on social media. If you just type in sickle cell anemia, like all kinds of information is going to come up, videos, like anything that you could think of that you would want to know. I will say that it sticks to some pretty general topics. So like the depths of things, or like, referring to it as an invisible disability. Some people who have sickle cell don't want to be labeled as disabled, like, but a lot of the things that we deal with, it puts you in the category of a disabled person. So you can find any information that you are really looking for on social media, on Google, ChatGPT. ChatGPT is actually pretty good. They'll give you like some really good information about it. September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and so there's always different walks and programs and symposiums going on, like all over the place, that you can always find information and get involved in things like that. There's also a sickle cell disease center in Ontario, California, and they do a lot for the sickle cell community.
Now, you said it, early in life, you didn't want to identify as having a disability, but you've embraced it now. So, talk to our listeners about the benefits of finding your community and maybe going to support groups, and how has that helped you deal with it on a day-to-day basis?
Well, when you meet other people who deal with what you deal with, it makes you say, oh my God, I'm not crazy. Like, like somebody gets like what I feel, what I'm thinking. And that right there, it just takes a whole load off, because there's not a lot of people that really understand the same language of what you're saying. Like, so me saying warrior, you guys may say, well, why are you choosing that word? Like, but that is a term of endearment for people with sickle cell. I did not know that until I was in my 20s and I started meeting more people with sickle cell. And it just basically means that you continue to fight, like, regardless of whatever is going on. So we call ourselves warriors. So meeting more people with sickle cell, it's helped me in a lot of ways. I went through a phase where I was in the hospital chronically for like a year and a half, and having friends that had sickle cell, they were the ones that taught me how to navigate the hospitals and how to ask for what I needed, how to get the proper medicines without, being prejudged as no other way to say it, as a drug user, and they were the ones that explained to me, like, this is how you should do your medicine, because if you don't take medicine on a regular basis, you're going to deal with a lot more pain on a regular basis. Those aren't things that I just knew myself, because I just did everything my siblings did. My siblings didn't take medicine. So it's not until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I feel excruciating pain, then I'm like, I want to take everything that they've ever told me to take, and I needed to work immediately, and it didn't. So
I needed to work yesterday, please. Yeah.
right, and it didn't happen like that. Like, they're like, take folic acid every day. So does the crisis come? I'm like, I took 12. Like, I took all the folic acid. Like, please, like, make the pain stop. But it was meeting other people with sickle cell, other moms. Like, I have a friend that passed away from sickle cell 2 years ago, and her mom, till this day, she tells me all the time, if you're going through anything, if you need somebody to go to a doctor's appointment with you, to just come sit with you at the hospital, like, please reach out to me. Like, even though she's lost her daughter, she still cares about what's going on with those that were her friends, those that deal with what she deals with. And I didn't know anything about that. My best friend didn't know I had sickle cell until I was 17, and she was like, where have you been? Like, you've been missing school all this time. I was in the hospital and didn't want to tell her I was in the hospital. I just, like, I'm not feeling good. Like, I'm not feeling good. And then she's like, oh, well, this is going on in school. That's going on. I was like, okay, I'll be back in a few days. Like, and this is like my best friend since 6th grade. And now we're in 12th grade. Think of all the crises that I've had. I remember having a crisis when she was spending the night at my house and just having to play it off and just act like I was okay. Like, oh, I'm gonna go take a shower, like, because that will help me deal with some of it. So having friends that have the same disease, and being able to just lean on them, like, when you're having a bad day, or when people don't really know the right words to say. Like, now I have friends that don't have it, but I have explained to them, don't ask me questions like, oh, well, what's going on with your health? Like, that makes me feel some type of way. But you can ask me, how are you feeling today? Like, do you need anything? Can I help you with something? Because it's hard for me to ask for help, because even though I do understand the benefits of having a community, of being around others that have the same things that I have, I still struggle with balancing being normal and having this disability, and where do I fall in the middle of that? Like, and I just recently have came to this understanding of, I just want to be Clark Kent. I don't want to be a superhero. Like, I don't want people to look at me like, oh my God, you're so strong. Like, I am trying to learn how to really say, hey, no, today is a bad day. Like, or I'm not feeling good today, and I'm learning to ask for help. I'm learning to, just take all of the extras off and just be the authentic version that I am. And I'm just Therese. Like, I'm not Therese that has sickle cell. Like, I'm not just the sickle cell warrior. I'm a person, like, and that's who I'm learning to be, and involving those that don't have what I have to join my community and to be a part and to learn how to advocate, not just for me, but for any kid that has a disability or may look different, talk different, and the things that you see with your own kids. Like, be more supportive and stop trying to force them to be just like you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was going to ask you to, maybe kind of wrap us up and and talk about, two people that maybe are dealing with it, and encourage them to find their community, or to those who don't have it and see somebody in a cart in a store and have a little more grace. But I think you summed it up all really well right there.
She put a bow on it before you asked.
Before I asked.
No, we like that. It's, your intuition is strong.
With a little story about me. So when I was 5, I got diagnosed with meningitis, and the doctors basically told my mom, like, hey, plan the funeral, because, brain waves and, the heart and all this stuff, nothing is working, right? And my mom was completely distraught, and was just fast forward. God brought me back. Here I am at 5. And at that time, I had to relearn how to walk. And relearning how to walk for most people is really difficult. Now, I'm not saying that it was easy, because it wasn't. But I used to tell my mom all the time, like, I can do it, mommy. Like, I can do it. My mom was like, please stop. Like, I don't want you to hurt yourself. Like, I remember us decorating my walker and all of that stuff. And I just told her, Mom, I can do it. Like, and I did. And then going back to school, I remember my teacher saying, oh, well, we don't want to put too much on her, so we're going to move her all the way back to the lower level of classes. Or reading groups and math groups, because I was in kindergarten at that time, and I hated it. And I was like, I can do it, to push myself all the way back to the forefront. My brother was running cross country at that time, and I had just learned how to walk. And my brother used to come in like first or second place all the time. I just wanted to be like my brother. And of course, I spent my time saying, I can do it. I came in dead last every single time, but I always did it. I always finished. So even like through high school and stuff, like, I don't play sports, but all my friends and family played sports. So how could I be a part of the team? So I was a water girl, I was a stat girl. The thing that I would say, that regardless of your disability, whether it's invisible or it is visible, never stop believing in yourself. Never stop saying, I can do it. Like, keep pushing. Like, maybe you can't do it the traditional way. So was I the star player? No. Did I come in first place? No. Like, did I have to work really hard and do more than probably everybody else did? I did. But I'm so grateful for that today, because that attitude, the spirit of I can do it, has helped me to open so many doors that would have been closed to me, because there's so many things that are really hard to do. But because of that, just being a mantra in my spirit of I can do it, this is what I do. So sickle cell never will have me. Just because I have sickle cell, it doesn't have me. I live my life free. I live my life knowing that I can do it. As the scripture says, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So there's nothing that is too hard for any of us, as long as we believe we can do it.
I think too many times those with disabilities are victims of low expectations. In the guise of kindness, and when people think they got to put us in the lowest level, or not do this or not do that, we got to protect them.
Excuse us.
No, I don't.
Yeah, don't excuse me. Excuse you.
You
You sit over there.
Yeah, exactly.
You sit in the special section, like, where nobody can do anything.
You
like,
can have my seat.
Right. Like, I'm going to take yours and you take mine, and then you tell me how it feels later.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what I encourage every one of my students to do, no matter what their disability is just to remember that you can do it. You might have to work a lot harder. I'm not saying that it's any easier, just because, like, we don't just have some super strength, like, that just comes out of nowhere. But it's like a lot of people with disabilities I meet, sometimes they just doubt themselves so much, and they never know what they really can do. But once you start saying I can do it, and making yourself do it, pushing to do it, it's so satisfying. Like, that's where the part of me, that's where I'm like, hey, I don't just have a disability. I am normal. Like, and on the bad days, I have to tell myself those things. It's, my affirmations that I have to say to push myself through. Like, it's all we can do.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing. That's a powerful episode, and we appreciate you. Thanks for coming on Walk and Roll Live.
Each week on Walk and Roll Live, we share honest and open stories of people living with a disability.
In terms of my goals, I'm really enjoying life right now. I'm looking for a way to retire at 44 and just pursue this wheelchair athletics career of mine. So if you have any ideas, I'd really appreciate it.
Join us weekly for another powerful episode. Walk and Roll Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Life Limitless. Subscribe now.
From the UGYAR Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
And we are back for segment 3 of Walk and Roll Live. This is where we kind of wrap up things for the day. Another wonderful guest today, and I think I know what you're going to say.
I love this story. Can you tell? I love this person. I love this story.
Yeah.
I don't ever think I've met a guest that I was not fond of, but that's just fine with me.
Well, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I have
everybody. I'm like, oh, I love you. It's why I keep telling you I want to make the little like reunion, Zoom reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, still thinking about that.
Well, and I have, hard not to, but I have my expectations, and I think this, all of them. I think this is going to be a really good one. But it so far exceeds once I hear the actual story, and it's done it again. So
no, 100%, right? And we're like, we have the teacher mojo. so we have the unspoken stories of what teachering means. We've been in the troops. Not that we're trying to exclude you, but we vibe on the teacher.
It's all right.
It's the world is so beautiful, and every time we meet somebody, I am so happy to know there's sparkles in the world.
Yeah.
And yet again, I'm like, yay! Somebody else making a bright spot.
Well, that's one of the nice things about having you here. Obviously you bring a whole different perspective, but you've got things that I don't have that you bond with people, immediately too. So it's a bonus. It's an extra.
We're a good team. High five to us.
Yeah, bam.
Go us. Anywho, yeah, no, that was a tremendous interview. And like you said, learning more about it, I've heard of it. And I kind of knew that the cells were shaped like a sickle, but now we have a greater idea of like, what does that mean? And what does that do? And how does that affect a person?
Yeah. So. Wow. I mean, it's a lot. If I can.
It is a lot. And you understand why people say a warrior, because if your whole body was revolting against you and you're just trying to live, and we have no clue.
And just to think that there are people with this disease that are going through that every day and can get through a day.
Yeah.
I think I'd be in a ball crying somewhere, but
right.
So thank you, Therese, for coming on and sharing that with us. I know she was saying that was her first time. So, and that's, again, we'll wrap it up here, but that's what I love about this show is that, that we learn things that never in a million years that we would, get this kind of insight, for people who are living it. So that's just me.
Yeah.
All righty. And we'll have another one next week. We're going to continue our conversation about invisible disabilities and how people deal with those and how people deal with them, many times not so kind. So we'll further that discussion. We have a couple of gals that are going to share their experience, and looking forward to that. All righty. All right.
We need you to like, subscribe, do all of the things because we need you here and we appreciate you here, and any chance to expand somebody's world is a beautiful thing. So come expand your world.
That's another great thing about having you here, because my brain can't hold everything we need to remind people and talk about, and you help me out. I appreciate it.
No worries.
So thank you.
I'm for it.
You're for it? That, as the kids say?
Yeah.
Careful, I may throw in a Riz or something.
Right? I don't even, my nephew's there talking to his friends. I'm like, what are you saying? I need a key.
Nothing, better than an old guy like me trying to talk the new lingo. See, I said lingo.
There you go. That's a good one.
All right. We got to go. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, along with Addie Rich from the Agyar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories. You want to say it?
Life limitless.
Walk and roll live.